everyone, on today's episode of Hubris Syndrome, where is the mirror? Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Last week we had the E3 wrap-up episode talking about some awesome events and announcements and games and just all the good stuff about E3 2019. But I left something out because I wanted to devote an entire episode to it, and that's Shenmue 3. Let's dive right in. So in 2015, we had the E3 of Dreams, Final Fantasy VII, Last Guardian, and Shenmue 3 all being announced. But Shenmue 3, the announcement actually was for a Kickstarter. So it was basically an announcement for the possibility of Shenmue 3. And here we are, 4 years later, after a few delays. We're finally getting Shenmue 3, and I finally got to play it. So let's just talk about what we saw, what we played, and how it's shaping up. So it was E3, and of course you watch my Hubris Syndrome episode. We kind of highlight a little bit of that situation where I got to play Shenmue, but it was behind closed doors. There was no filming allowed, no real interviews. So it was pretty much a hit and run, go in, play 15 minutes, you're on the clock, and then you are out of here. So it was kind of frantic, but what I saw, what I played was so encouraging on so many levels. First up, every time we see this game, it just looks better and better. The graphics have been improved so much since that prototype video in part of the 2015 E3 press conference. You know, the stiff facial animations have been addressed. The environments look great. Again, just every time we see it, it looks so good. So I think that initial walking forward, just that moment, I always like to talk about your first steps in a video game being so sacred. That's why nowadays I don't even write like demos, why I avoided Final Fantasy 15 episode Duske, because I think your first movement in a game is special, especially something you've been waiting so long for. So I think just moving was just validation, confirmation that this feels like a Shenmue game in 2019. And I've been trying to figure out how to explain that, how it feels like a Shenmue game, because the movement does, the visuals do, the pace. My favorite thing is the way the camera moves in Shenmue. Anytime a cutscene is going down or people are talking, once they're highlighting some important philosophical message, the camera is just dancing, like people training in martial arts. That's the way the camera moves, and Shenmue 3 was doing it in spades, and I loved it. So again, we only had 15 minutes, so we're not going to be able to take too deep of dive into, what Shenmue 3 is going to be. It's really just a taste, a sample, a drop of water in a desert. But of course we had to hit Lucky Hit was the first thing we did. We played some Lucky Hit. And we lost every game. We lost every time. So nothing new there. Nothing has changed on the Lucky Hit front. You're still gonna go broke unless you save scum it. Don't do it. Let it ride. Oh, play how you want to play. You can save scum. But I warn you about these turtle races because it was just... I haven't mashed buttons so hard in a video game probably since Mario Party something, like the early Mario Party days when mini games used to tear flesh off of your hands. That's what it felt like playing this turtle race, just mashing out these buttons. It's just so intense. Then of course the axe chopping mini game. I can't stress enough how hype this is. This was as impactful to me in this short little demo as forklift racing was when I played it on the Dreamcast. All I want to do is chop some wood, get paid, and make these shop owners happy. Of course, it's not all 10 out of 10's positive. I do want to address some of the fighting concerns, and you know, walking away, I could maybe see that's why we have an additional delay, maybe so they could polish up some of the fighting, because Shenmue has quick time fighting, which is always flashy and awesome. You're doing awesome combos, throwing people into boxes, behind bars, really cool stuff. But then of course there's the freeform fighting, you know, Yu Suzuki flexing his Virtua Fighter muscle, and you know, what I played was a little concerning, a little alarming. Combat felt a little splashy, non-responsive. Again, full disclosure, we were under extreme time pressure and there was no training or tutorial for fighting, so I was just thrown into basically a boss fight. This guy just stomped me, you know? It was one of those situations where you hit a boss a couple times and you do no damage, and then they hit you once and you lose half your health. So it was a very intense fight. Didn't have a lot of time to catch my bearings, so full disclosure there. But anytime I executed some moves, the animations just felt off. It felt really I didn't feel the weight, I didn't feel in control. And again, a lot of that could be because I was just thrown into the fight. But putting my expectations in check when it comes to just one part of what makes Shenmue great. It's a big part, but it's not the only part. And lastly, just the sense of place. What Shenmue does so well is it just asks you to live in these environments, whether talking to people or partaking in mini games or back alley street fights or examining objects or just getting some capsules out of the toy machine. The environment was just so impressive, not just because of nostalgia, not just because I was Ryo in Guilin looking for traces of the next mission. No, well, that's part of it, but also on its own. The sunset shooting through the trees, kids practicing martial arts in the courtyard, old ladies cooking in the back. Just, it felt good, it felt right. Shenmue 3's coming. Done, let's get another countdown going. So that's it for the episode. That was Shenmue 3. I am so confident. We are looking so good at the place that game is in right now. They just got to get combat a little better, and then we are smooth sailing all the way to the Chi-Yu-Min headquarters, where we're gonna kick down the door, call Tom, call Ren, call Gui Zhang, bust some heads, and get our revenge on Lan Di. Coming for you in November. Yo, I know Dark Phoenix is getting some bad reviews. I haven't seen it yet, but I was still inspired to do an entire X-Men Cinematic Universe rewatch, because that's been part of my life for almost 2 decades, and it inspired me to do a new little bit at the end of episodes that I will do randomly, maybe not every episode, but randomly here and there, and it's called Scene Highlight of the Week. Scene I want to highlight this week is in The Wolverine. Hugh frickin' Jackman as Logan. The scene at the funeral where the Yakuza come in, crack some heads, Logan is going all primal, cutting through Yakuza like butter. Then that scene immediately leads to the bullet train. Do you remember they were hyping the hell out of this before the Wolverine came out? All the promo shots, all the trailers, everything. Check out this bullet scene set piece. Well, I'm here to tell you it holds up, and you should rewatch that one scene because it's amazing.